Hello, everyone. My name is Ben, and today we'll discuss the article When Executive Presence Backfires. It's an article from Harvard Business Review from 2026. You can find the link in the comments below. And what it practically talks about are the traps to avoid when someone ascends to a higher role in the organization. And Sam, would you mind to please give us a quick summary of the key takeaways from the article?
Yes, for sure. So the summary is really the pitfalls of executive presence. And this is a topic as executive coaches like Ben and I, we work with this topic a lot with our clients. What I liked about this article is that it shows the kind of the pitfalls or the negative side of that executives need to consider when they're building executive presence. There's three. The first one and the second one are more or less similar, which are called the expertise trap and the value added trap, where the executive is over-involved, they're adding value so much, they're talking a lot, and they're overshadowing their team instead of delegating and empowering their team. And then the third is called the unshakable confidence paradox, which is kind of too much confidence that veers into unrealistic, especially in times of change, uncertainty, discomfort for others, where what we need is a realistic and even an empathetic leader instead of an unrealistic, overconfident one. So that's the summary. So let's go into what you find useful, Ben, from your executive coaching experience and your work. What resonates for you in this article?
Yeah, thank you, Sam. So what resonated with me most is the fact that when we ascend to a more senior role, there are difficulties that come with it. It sounds exciting. It sounds like, I will be able to make more contribution. But many times the qualities that help us get to one level are not the same qualities that will help us be excellent at the one level up. And I think this article addresses it very clearly. It means also there will be frustration and doubts and a lot of different emotions and a lot of different challenges that come with performing at a higher level. And I think it's really good that this article put it into the surface. And maybe one more thing, the topic of executive presence is something that comes a lot in my recent coaching engagement with senior leaders. Is something that I think a lot of people are concerned about, and it's great that the article addresses it. But I wonder, Sam, what resonates with you? You work with a lot of executives. What comes up to you as recommendations from this article that could be useful?
Yes, definitely. Ben, what you're talking about is this: what got you here won't get you there, right? So this constant adapting, innovating in how you approach leadership is really necessary. So that's a clear message for sure. What resonates for me, especially in the work that I do in executive presence, is a lot of people think it's about them, so I need to build executive presence. I need to be seen. I need to be heard. So I'm going into this room and people will see me, hear me, and listen to me. I'm confident. But what this article and the work that I do, and I'm sure that you do with your clients, is kind of giving the other person orientation. It's not just about you now as a leader and the most senior person in the room. It's about how you're making others feel seen and others be heard. And I like that this article didn't say that specifically, but avoiding the expertise trap or even the value add trap is now you're going to be in the background, or as what we like to say in coaching, the container, right? For all of the, the transformation, the change, the progress that is going to happen within your team and organization. Instead of being the person that is most visible in that. So that's what resonated here for me, and I like that a lot. What about, do you have recommendations that, let's say, were not mentioned in this article?
Yeah, there are a few, Sam. And the first thing is that I find that people have quite a narrow view of what executive presence is. And when I talk with executives, when they ascend to this role, I notice that they almost have a prototype of how executive presence should look like. And I think that this article didn't expand a little bit the portfolio, that people can have different types of executive presence. And it's about finding what executive presence is for them. We can think of leaders like, for example, Bill Gates, just to mention one, or Tim Cook or Mary Barra, that have an executive presence that is different than the one that we may be imagining as a stereotype. So I think making people understand that they could look as an executive in different forms or shapes. This is something that is missing, and I would recommend people to understand that they can have their own way of showing their presence as an executive. The other thing is that maybe the narrow focus a little bit in the article was about the part about confidence, which is almost like you come out with too much confidence. And I'm thinking that when people get to a more senior role, there will be other areas they'll need to work around. It could be maybe now they will have a global role and they need to develop skills of working across cultures, as one example. Or maybe they will need to start having a more horizontal view of the organization. So not only representing their own function, but actually thinking at the board level position, what's best for the organization. So this element, I think, was not mentioned. And of course, there was not place for everything in the article. This would be one more thing that I would work with people going to this role. What needs to change in the way that you do in your business? And the last thing is that the article talks about we may show up with too much confidence, as you rightly mentioned, like overconfident. And one of the things I also notice is that when people go to a more senior role, they may lose confidence, actually. They may feel like imposters. And it's important for people to relate to the past success and understand that it's a process. And it will take a little bit of time till they'll feel super confident in that new environment. So it's not only that people may show up as a confident expert, they may end up needing to also build their confidence to feel that they have a place at the table at the executive level. And this is something that's important, so they will show at their best, and something that, of course, I work with leaders, and I'm sure you work with them as well on those elements. So, Sam, I'd love to ask you the same question. What other recommendations do you have for leaders that are moving into the executive roles, things that you're not mentioned in the article?
What I'm hearing from what you're sharing is that executive presence is this industry term that is being thrown out right now, and it's business jargon for sure. But there is definitely subjective things about it. That is, what executive presence is for Tim Cook is different from, Michelle Obama, right? So there is a subjectivity, there is authenticity that is involved. Definitely, that's what I'm hearing from what you're sharing. At the end of the day, we also want our leaders to be truly themselves and authentic. And I like how you also put that in juxtaposition with different cultures, that also different cultures could be understanding. I think this was implied with what you said. Different cultures could understand confidence in different ways. Also different people, right? Yeah. So maybe something that I would add to that perhaps is not mentioned directly in this article, is a part of this move to a higher level of leadership is the ability to read the room, for sure. To read yourself, the self-management, right? How am I behaving? Am I displaying the right, authentic level of confidence that makes people feel at ease? But also scanning, the room in terms of what are the concerns right now? What do people maybe want to hear? What would put people at ease, or even what would motivate them and inspire them? So this dialogue between, the leader is not in isolation, right? And it definitely, executive presence is not this, you have it and it's the silver bullet to everything. It interacts with many different things. So to be mindful of that. Something I want to go just a little bit deeper into, maybe even talking about the biology of the leader. And this is missed out a lot in business articles. It's the state of our nervous system. Yeah. I like to talk about this a lot because I've done my nervous system regulation trainings, and I bring that into my coaching where I'm sensing how regulated this person is. And really, when we have a dysregulated nervous system, so that displays agitation, nervousness, anxiety, even uncontrolled anger. So this, of course, is affecting us, but this is felt by others as well. And then so that executive presence backfires, even though we might think that we're going in strong. Imagine, do you want to be led by a leader that is completely agitated, or someone that is relaxed and puts you at ease, but then also inspires you? So something about nervous system regulation in this confidence, executive presence realm, I think would enrich the dialogue. And of course, there's many ways to regulate your nervous system. It's all about the self-care, what puts you in a relaxed, we call in coaching, resourceful, expanded state, as opposed to fight, flight, contracted, going into the boardroom, or just important interactions with that. It matters.
Yeah, I completely agree. And relate, as you were speaking and thinking about where maybe being at ease with yourself and how you can get to that point that you're entered that room for the first time, and you don't have the weight of the whole world or the company on your shoulder. You're just knowing that just one more person entering here, and a little bit. And if the first meeting doesn't go as great as you wanted it to go, just that's okay. That's the first meeting, like a little bit of self-compassion. And
the self-compassion is important as well. We know this in our work, Ben. It's if you don't have self-compassion for yourself, it's hard to have it for others as well, right? So it's definitely one of those soft skills. I think I talk about soft skills even more now in the age of AI, because AI can do the technical, the hard skills, but we eventually are led by humans, and we want to be led by humans. And the reason why we choose humans is not just only for their technological expertise or their intellect, but with these softer things that we feel when we're with them or being led by them. Self-compassion, a lot of this talks about empathy as well, in a sense. So that's key in executive and their presence these days. Anything else that we're missing?
I think the preparation to that situation, I think, is important. Maybe talking about understanding the expectations that we may have towards taking that position in the role, and maybe a little bit about how would someone would like to show up, and what does a good way of being an executive with that team is something to work on or discuss or understand. But also, I would say a general recommendation that I will have for people that are going into new executive teams is to start building the relationships with the people in the meeting, with the people that will interact with, and knowing what actually is talked about in the article also a little bit already is how to detach from the day-to-day, understanding what the new role demands, getting the support around them. And as you said, Sam, is the part about regulating themselves, the self-compassion. So I would, those will be my final comments here.
That's good. Great, Ben. I was just scanning the article. There's some quotes that were really good here. Some quotes that I really like in this article. You want your identity as a leader to shift from the expert who knows. And this is important because just yesterday, for example, I was coaching someone that was hired as the first salesperson in that particular company in their region, and now is the country manager. Obviously, that took years of experience. So this person was this number one expert in the industry where they were. But here the shift is calling for the expert who knows to the leader who builds other experts, which is definitely, this is the work that we're working on. So it requires this also letting go of who you thought you were. Again, going back or coming full circle to what got you here won't get you there, right? So let's be open and creative and adaptive for how we show up right now, and kind of what messages that we're transmitting to our team as well.
Completely agree. Sam, I really enjoyed this discussion with you about this article. I hope the people that are listening or watching the video enjoyed as well, and hope to see all of you again in another episode.
Yeah, thank you, Ben. Likewise, really enjoyed it and looking forward to more of these. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.